Save it for the pod. Don't spill the beans ahead of time. Yeah, we have information here and up there. Ready?
I'm ready. You have to, this is, minimize it, just minimize it, yeah.
Ready?
Go.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. This is Essence of History. Today, we're going to be talking about why is gossip good? I'm Amanda Armagost.
I'm Melissa Hopper.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. Gossip.
I know it's kind of, I was actually nervous to choose this topic because of what we just talked about Wednesday, which
Mhm.
is kind of the opposite of this, but this is why is gossip good? And actually, how can gossip even save lives?
They just give me a break right first. Do you know Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of
Theodore.
FDR?
Yeah.
It's something that is attributed to her that summarize a lots of problems that we have today in 2023 United States. She said average people talk about people.
Mhm.
Above average people, good people, extraordinary people talk about events, but extraordinary people talk about ideas. What category is gossip?
Well, actually, gossip can fall into all of those categories because this isn't just gossip talking about people. This is gossip talking about events like the women's suffrage movement and talking about ideas like leaving Europe before the Nazis start doing their crazy stuff. So
And that
it can fall into any category depending on how you want to look at it.
I think we should maybe start by throwing our biases out the window or what we think of when we think of gossip.
Yeah.
Because I'm with Dr. Abbasi. When I think of gossip, my first thoughts are not typically positive. I typically use that term kind of negatively as like lies but that's not necessarily the definition of gossip.
No,
True.
have you seen that show? I have Gossip Girls.
No,
Do they talk about ideas and events, or do they talk about people?
we haven't seen the show.
Okay, but in most of the understanding, in most of cultures, and gossip is across the cultures. You thought this is going to be a short podcast, but it is not going to be a short podcast because there is a lots of understanding, biological, neurobiological understanding. And that is what I'm trying to get to. In all cultures that I'm familiar with, gossip is talking about people and has a negative connotation. But we are going to talk about, well, neurobiologically, it's actually a necessary thing for all mammals to have that. So I wasn't trying to diminish the value of what gossip actually is neurobiologically, but in all cultures that I'm familiar with, gossip is a bad thing. Gossip is talking bad about people and so on and so forth. But we still do it. We make shows about it. It's a social kind of glue between lots of people, and there is a reason why it exists. Even though everybody's in all the cultures they say it's a bad thing, but there is a reason it still exists. But I want to come back to that. I want you to first lay the ground for gossip, what it is, and tell me in your daily activities, from your life.
Well, gossip has gotten a bad name in the past. I think gossip, the way you're looking at gossip, is spreading information about other people. But I think that gossip didn't originate specifically only spreading information about other people. I think that's kind of what it's shaped itself into, the word gossip. But to me, I'm not looking at it as that. I'm looking at it as communication between groups that relate with each other, or communication about like things that might happen. So warnings or I just think gossip is a way to communicate with one another about your own experiences.
I agree with most of that. Again, I'm trying to keep my mind a little open. Because when I think of gossip, I think a little more negative until I think about what is the definition of gossip? And it is more so the communication between people it was more so like non-scheduled. It's like where we get the tea time.
Yeah.
Let's sit down for tea. Let's sit down for gossip. It wasn't necessarily, hey, let's sit down and talk about people or negatively. The idea that we were kind of seeing when we saw a lot of the things for why is gossip good, it all came down to you're talking to people, whether
Mhm.
it's, you know, what you're talking about or who you're talking about. You're networking, you're throwing out different ideas, different this and that. It doesn't have to be negative, I think
Yeah.
is kind of what we were getting at.
Let's play a scenario.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you 3 sentences and tell me which of those sentences are gossip, which of them are not.
Well, then should we identify like 2 different types of gossip,
Go ahead.
positive and negative gossip, or like helpful and non-helpful gossip?
Okay, go ahead. Identify them.
Well, I think not helpful gossip is pretty clear. It's incorrect information, or unhelpful information. So for instance, I could say like, oh my gosh, Charlie, did you see that Alyssa is wearing the same earrings 2 days in a row? That's negative gossip because it has no use for anything. But if I know someone who Alyssa is dating and he used to date my best friend, I could say like, Josh really, I don't know if you want to really date Josh. He used to date my friend Anna. He cheated on her. That could be helpful gossip, or even other situations like that. So
That's
that
a-
to me is good.
That's a
Okay.
matter of debate.
It is a
How-
debate. I'm with her on that because I can see it kind of from a girl's side of things.
Mhm.
But I guess when you were talking, I see it, the difference or my line of good gossip, bad gossip kind of comes down to like the ends justifying the means. We're kind of always taught not to lie, but we were
Mhm.
taught that at times there are situations where lying is more appropriate.
Yeah.
Whether that's, you know, avoiding hurting people's feelings or whatnot. So when I think of good gossip versus bad gossip, you know, again, we kind of know what bad gossip is. But good gossip, for an example, I would say something's going on at work. And Amanda and I are sitting here having a conversation, and instead of getting negative, we start, oh, but this could happen instead. And then that's where you get the ideas where something might be, you know, gossip, but we came up with 12 positives out of that conversation,
Mhm.
just starting the subject. So I guess I see that more as, you know, it justifies at the end of the day that something good came out of it.
Yeah.
So let me go through my scenarios and you tell me. Okay, scenario 1. I did a surgery yesterday in the hospital. I saw Dr. X. He was taking a patient for incision and drain after a patient had an infection. It seems that his infection rate is about 5%, which is average for United States for this kind of surgery. But guess what? Our surgical infection rate is 0.2. Scenario number 1. Scenario number 2. Oh my God, I saw Dr. X yesterday was taking another patient for incision and drain. And I don't know how many infections he has, but every time I'm there, he's taking somebody back for incision and drain. I think he's really having a lot of infection. And scenario number 3. I saw Dr. X yesterday, who told me he's not interested in my method of surgery, but guess what? He was taking his own patient for infection and for infection control to the surgery.
Mhm.
And I did 2 or 3 surgery. I got done so early, so I could give him my room so he can go and do his last surgery in my room. Because by the time I got done with my the 4-level fusion and a 1-level fusion, he barely got done with his 1-level fusion. So these 3 scenarios. So
Well, you want us to
identify.
say number 2. That's what you
I-
want us to say.
no, I wanted
I
to
think
say what
number
you
2,
think.
just based on that was when you implemented your most personal opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the other 2, no matter how you worded them, they were still things that you could prove based on OR times, dates, methods.
No, I think the first statement was a statement of fact, and I tried not to become, oh my God, emotional about it.
Mhm.
And a statement of fact. The second was definitely a gossip because it put my emotional hurt and feeling into that. And the third one was a mean comment.
Yeah. But still, I want to come back to the actual definition of gossip.
Mhm.
Gossip is casual or informal conversation, often about other people and their personal lives. It can involve sharing rumors, personal information, or judgment about others, often without their knowledge or consent. So all three of those do fall into the category of informal conversation.
No, well, eh, I would say that, first of all, I don't have to have consent of anybody to talk about the things that are not personal.
Right.
If Dr. X confides something in confidence to me,
Mhm.
that's certainly information that I cannot divulge without his consent.
Mhm.
But the rate of infection of a doctor is not his personal information.
Mhm.
So I do not need his consent either way.
Yeah.
But I think the part that the second statement made the gossip for me is that I infused my whole personal feeling, information without really, putting it to a statistical test. Is that really true? Is it normal? And so on. I injected myself as person who conveys the information, and I judge it at the same time.
So to you, gossip is basically like maybe incorrect or like,
Not necessarily incorrect,
but judging.
you don't give somebody information, you convey as well your feeling
Okay.
regarding that event to the other person. It is like, am I giving you a news or am I giving you a commentary?
Mhm.
Again, I would doubt that I'm the only person that sees the gossip in that light.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet
Totally.
most people see it in your light as well,
But-
which is what makes it so difficult to kind of compute this.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. But kind of the point of the podcast that I was trying to capture is how gossip has been helpful in the past.
And that's exactly the point. Even the most negative gossip, the second version, has an evolutionary place.
Mhm.
It solves an evolutionary problem for all social mammals, all of them, monkeys, apes, chimps, and so on. All of that, even the most negative one, there is a reason that exists.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to come back to, that we know it's a negative things, but in lots of cultures it's considered a negative things, but there is a reason it exists. I'm going to tell you that stealing is bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you know that penguins steal?
Penguins steal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's
Sure.
There's a reason that exists. It gives an evolutionary advantage. Anything that we do and we still keep doing, give us an evolutionary advantage. We don't have to morally justify it.
Right.
But the fact is, the gossip exists because it gives us an evolutionary advantage
Mhm.
in our daily life.
I would agree with that statement.
By the way, a penguin male, they impress the penguin female, but how many pebbles they have? They have the pebbles, they put the eggs on the pebbles so it's not directly on the ice.
Mhm.
As a sort of insulation. And obviously where they live, these pebbles is all ice. Pebbles are very valuable. And if a penguin daddy or male is gone, the other just fall and steal his pebble to boost up their own place. So a little excursion, but it goes way beyond even
Right.
mammals.
Mhm.
Okay.
Everything that has something bad can have something good if you look at it from a different angle. Like even the most positive form of your negative gossip that you gave the example of. I mean, if this doctor is having a lot of infections, maybe someone needs to know about it so then they can solve the issue of the infections.
Well, but the point is that, again, this should be lots of information should be public because it's really related to lots of other people. Okay, but I can give you the information, or I can just create a bad feeling in you regarding that person.
Yeah.
And I think for most of the time, what I understand under gossip is a bad feeling that I'm conveying, not only the information. Okay, that person, like Alyssa had the 2 days, the earring at the same time, but that's not really the message. The message is, look at Alyssa is not really fashion conscious
right.
and so on. That is the actual feeling. And as well, I think that there lots of non-spoken kind of communication as well. What makes the gossip? It's like, oh my God, did you hear? And so on. That is, I'm making that this statement is not normal. I'm just conveying that just by the way I'm giving you the information, conveying a bad feeling about that third person
Mhm.
without really that 5% risk of infection in the first statement says that is within a normal range. So, and that takes it out of the realm of the gossip, because I'm giving you the information. Yes, he has a lot of infection, but that is within the normal range of infection.
Mhm.
Whereas when I'm just giving you the feeling that he's a bad doctor, and
Yeah.
that is the point that makes, in my eyes, the gossip a negative, but still that negative gossip has a function. Please, yeah.
So in history, there's actually been some forms of gossip, like in the Civil War, that weren't just feelings and stuff like that. In the Civil War, they used gossip networks to spread information about troop movements.
And so in the Revolutionary War, yes, correct.
So that's a way that gossip can be a fact, but still be helpful. So I
Mhm.
don't think that they're saying like, wow, did you hear about the blue guys? I think they're moving to the left. Like they say, I saw this happen. This is happening.
Mhm.
So
No, but-
gossip can be facts.
Yeah, but why do you call it gossip? Because in Revolutionary War,
Because we said gossip is informal communication. We didn't say gossip is negative talk.
okay,
We said gossip is spreading information from one person to another.
there is a good theory that in the American Revolution, you may or may not know that until very recently, people were born, raised, and lived within 20-mile to 50-mile radius. They never ever traveled beyond that.
Mhm.
So all the social interaction was in that geographic region.
Mhm.
But until just recently, but there were people who would go from place to place. They would have a social group in one area and then travel and social group in other area. I call them the super nodes. Node is something that other things connect to. Like, if you
Like
look
a
at your,
nomad.
well,
I
no,
know
that's
what a
not, doesn't
node
come,
is.
that doesn't come from nomads, but imagine you have like, lots of friends, and your friends have friends, and they have friends, and you connect to lots of people. Imagine now, lots of people are social butterflies, so lots of people are more recluses, but there are certain people, and most of the people just are activated within their own social group. But some people can be a practical point of convergence in multiple groups, meaning that they get the ideas from one group implanted in other groups. We call them super nodes because they are not just bound by similar people. But you know what's a characteristic of those people? They don't have this fanatics mindset. They will talk to Republican if they're Democrat.
Yeah.
They will talk to vegetarian if they're eat meat and so on and so forth. And you have some of that characteristic that you have your ideas, but that doesn't prevent you to see many other people and so on. Yeah. And that makes a super node a super node. In Revolutionary War, we know that actually, let me come and good catch. I think it's still going. In the Revolutionary War, probably less than few hundred of these super nodes gave what you call information from one area, like those redcoats in the British people, when they did atrocities, like killed people and so on. Those super nodes went from one place to another and incited resentment against the British. By the way, they did exactly what gossip is. They exaggregated it, like
Yeah.
maybe 7 people died. By the time they were in few other places, there were few thousand people and so on. So, but the whole resentment in the United States against the patriot, they were brutals.
Mhm.
Patriots were more violent than royalists, but the super notes created an environment, gossip, that British are really, really bad. And so we thank our whole nation to gossipers
Yeah.
in that time frame. No, but it's still the question, why do we need gossip?
I feel like it's a,
Logically.
yeah, it's almost like an urge almost that people have to, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like,
I can,
I-
I can
yeah,
see
you can-
what,
I say in general, I feel like if I have something on my mind that I want to say, I know the appropriate place most time and who I can talk to and who I shouldn't for that particular subject. So while I know that this might not be the right time to talk about something, I may know right after this gets done, oh, a little gossip session, I can talk through something
yeah.
and it's not so bad. So that's kind of how I see that.
Well, when I think of gossip, I think of obviously relationships, and it's kind of a way.
Your point is extremely important, relationships.
Yeah, it's kind of going on what Alyssa just said
Yeah.
of the urge. We have the urge to form relationships, and we have the urge to fit in with people
Mhm.
and kind of put ourselves, like prove ourselves into a group or something. So maybe you'll share gossip about someone that you know they don't like because you want to be fitting into the group, or you want to bring information that other people don't know. Like
Mhm.
for instance, in the World War II, before the World War II really started, all of Hitler's crazy stuff, women would get together and talk about stuff that was happening with their friends and their family. And, oh, my family's moving because of what's going to happen. We see what's happening with Hitler. We need to move and be safe. So gossip keeps you safe, but it also builds a community in a way.
So you mentioned 3 words that I think very crucial. And again, gossip is a matter of studies. It's not just a Gossip Girl TV reality show. It's a people. You don't gossip about the car didn't work. It's gossip involve people, relationship and community, and spread of information. Now, I think it's very easy to see how those 3 things and what you mentioned keep people safe. Okay, because we live for very, very long time, and lots of groups and animals still do. They live in a place that resources are scarce. And we know how people are when the resources are scarce. They want to have more for themselves, that gives less to others. And the fairness is something that it's inert to most of our higher mammals, like apes and the chimpanzees, orangutan, and human. But this idea of fairness is what makes our society really go. Like if the chimps find the food, like a carcass, the male chimp obviously get most of them all, but make sure that everybody gets something. And they did the studies, like, they put a food on a table that 2 chimps are in the different kind of cells, and it is wacky. If you can tip it, then nobody gets anything. But if you cooperate, then both of you get something. And all the studies are very clear. If a chimp has the feeling that the other chimp is not fair, rather tip the table and waste all the food, then so it is so inert to us. But can you imagine now that how important it is if you can trust, you have to go and work on the field. Can you imagine how important it is if you can trust your children, your baby chimp with another chimp mom or not? Can you imagine how important it is for survival of your genome if the person is trustworthy, is fair, and that is the social element that make the gossip. And because it is so important, we are more careful. Like, if you don't know if it's something has electricity, you don't touch it. You don't check it out. Because if you do, the price of doing that is very high. So if somebody in a social group is considered not trustworthy or dangerous, it doesn't really matter if that person is trustworthy or dangerous. It is people stay away from that person, but that has survival effect on us. Like what happens, if you see something you think is a tiger, and you think it's a tiger, but it's not a tiger, has no bad effect on you. But if it's a tiger and you miss to identify that, your life is over. Same thing with the social structure, a matter of trust. So it has a huge survival effect on and cohesiveness on a group. It had the bad side of that is all the times that it is really has no underlying truth to that.
Yeah. But even sometimes, just to be devil's advocate, even sometimes if it doesn't have underlying truth, it can form as like a bonding type of thing too, for relationships and stuff, like friendships, and
I see how
also
you're
maybe
defending
but also
gossip.
Well,
Because you're a super node.
well, no,
You
but
connect to so many
listen,
people, and that is your tool.
but,
I-
but what I'm saying is maybe also like if you're saying, if the group all is saying, I do not like people who talk so fast,
Mhm.
then everyone else maybe is going to try and slow down their speech and talk more slowly because they know, oh, I don't like when people are talking fast.
It has an effect on our
Like
social cohesiveness.
control.
No, it's a social bonding. Like if the two chimp mom hate one chimp mom, they get closer to each other.
Oh, it's
hate
totally
bonds
well, and like I have a lot of gossip in my neighborhood right now going on, and Alyssa knows
about the
because-
dog.
Yeah, about that dog.
Oh, tell me now gossip
No.
about the dog.
Like this is another reason why gossip is good, because maybe my neighbors and I are exaggerating about this lady and her dog. But now everyone knows, watch out for this brown dog in the neighborhood because it's a killer.
It comes and kills your chicken.
And comes back.
Yeah. So you see that there? That is, you just described the function of the gossip to keep the group safe.
Yeah, but it's not going to keep Alyssa safe knowing about my neighborhood dog, but it will keep Alyssa entertained throughout the day while I'm
true.
like,
I guess another, since I agree we're trying to talk about the benefits that are there. I think gossip, when it's not directly damaging or hurting someone, when Amanda and I talk, when it's just her and I, assuming nothing ever leaves the room, it's not hurting anybody. I find that very therapeutic in a way.
for sure.
And it's not necessarily in the way of I need to be evil and mean and I need to get it out. It's just it's a way to let off steam. It's a way to relax, talk it out. And then
Bond.
once it's done, it's done. And then you're like, oh, I'm okay now. And that, guess what? That saved me a lot of hours.
And that saves you a lot of hours with the psychologist.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Amanda is my psychologist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're each other's psychologists.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah.
Well, I still go back to what Eleanor Roosevelt said. If you need gossip, gossip. I think what you always have to think about is, it's 2023, and we are not apes, and we are not penguins.
Mhm.
We have to fight the urge to steal pebbles. You have to fight the urge to consciously hurting people. I think one of the things that I would know, spread of knowledge is crucial. Like, if I know somebody's infection rate is really high and I don't do that, it's not that I'm doing that person a favor and so on. I'm doing this favor to all the patients that are not knowing about that.
Mhm.
Okay, but first of all, it's 2023. We have access to a lot of knowledge. We can confirm things, or at least give it a genuine try, and then once we are conveying the information, we are human. We will have our own feeling,
Mhm.
but for a second, we should think, how would we feel if we were on the other side of it? And then that help us tone that maybe a little more moderate, maybe, or tone correctly, how that should be, conveyed,
Yeah.
the information conveyed. I think we, even in year 10,000, people will still gossip. because it is in our DNA
Yeah.
and it has a function. Those functions are not all negative, but there are lots of things that are not that are in our DNA that we can see it in a different light. Like people all say nature, natural. Nature is brutal. Nature is violent.
Yeah, it is.
We don't have to go with everything that our nature has put us through.
I can think of a way that gossip would help you in your business life. Well, I was just like kind of smirking because I was thinking about some doctors that probably gossip about Dr. Abbasi pretty
There are lots of them. There are lots
And
of them.
I can just imagine like lunchroom gossip. Like, did you see what Dr. Abbasi posted on LinkedIn? He's saying that he only had 50 cc's of blood loss on a 3-level fusion, all this crazy stuff. And they're probably saying, that's not true. There's no way. There's no way. But then it's in this gossip is spreading this information, which is true, but they're exaggerating it. They think it's not true. And then someone will look it up and say,
Mhm.
oh, it's actually true. Maybe I should go and see what is Dr. Abbasi doing.
Mhm.
So gossip can help spread technology too.
And that would be one mode of transportation of the information. But when they are conveying the information, they are as well conveying information that what I'm doing is not true.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday, I did a 4-level fusion in 1.5 hours less, and a 2-level fusion in 40 minutes. Those patients, the leg pain is gone. I have the record of the time of the surgery and so on. They're ready to go home, elderly. Okay, this is unheard of. But they're not saying the information. They're saying the information with the connotation that I'm a liar.
Yeah.
And obviously, all my data is out there. I would disagree that their gossip really helping me because I have had people who look at my data. They want to come and learn it. They're interested what's going on. But then they talk to one of the surgeon, and the surgeon said, "Don't believe him. It's not true." And then they say, "Why would I waste my time if this is so out of ordinary? If it's so unusual and so on, maybe he is lying and so on." So, and that actually, I think that in this specific case, I know they say there's nothing such as bad publicity. In this case, I think they're trying to build a wall between the truth and other surgeon, which I'm okay with. By the way, by the time they keep their patients 7 days in the hospital and have to take the 10th of them back for surgery, my patients are all home, and I have the result. But that is because I know the nature of people. That's why I started getting these 1,000 patient testimonials to back up my claims with data, whereas all they have is gossip.
Well, that actually brings me to the second half of my point is that, like we talked about good gossip and bad gossip, you also have to be a good receiver of gossip. You can't take every gossip you hear and believe it. You have to be a responsible consumer of gossip. So when you hear it, you need to figure out, is it true or not?
And that is very true that you should, if at least if it's something that you are going to base your action upon, you should fact check it. We know from the last 10 years that all this conspiracy theory, that they have actual negative effect on our lives. Like we went in 2003 again, Iraq, for a gossip. And that gossip was based on the people who wanted Saddam out, Iraqi people, and they came and told our politician that he has things. It was all gossip. It was no information. And the whole society, we spent $10 trillion that we could have spent on our country on a war based on gossip. So in a way, that is contagious nature of the gossip can have impact on us. And if we are going to make a decision based on information that we receive in the gossip, it is upon us to confirm the information, not with gossip, with the additional, not just because I heard it in the gossip from Amanda, then Alyssa confirmed that, but
What?
Can confirm.
That's how I do
Well,
my gossip.
Yeah.
I guess just listening to you guys speak a little bit, I've just come to the conclusion that we may just have to agree that there's a spectrum when it comes to
Mhm.
gossip.
Yes, it is.
You know, it just like everything else, based on how we view is how we're gonna view
Yeah.
gossip. Viewing gossip in, you know, synonymous with, you know, lies or kind of that, you know, you're gonna see it more on the heavy side. Whereas we see it more as a conversation or spread of information. It comes down to that spectrum and
Do you
we
know?
That's
just-
a good way of putting it.
Do you
Alyssa.
know how I think there would be a very good instance to those and put the gossip in the right place? When just see who is talking to you, and if that person always have something negative to say, that has a different value. That if you get different values,
Mhm.
different kind of talk, like, you know, if I come talk to you, talk bad about Amanda, but then talk good about somebody else and so on, is it different than
Mhm.
I always talk bad about everybody else and so on. Everybody,
That's
you know,
true.
yeah, and as well, I think another instant that it would be useful. What personal benefit can I get from that? Like, you know, if Amanda and I are doing the same job, and you know, and I'm come to you and say, you know, Amanda is doing that job wrong or something.
Mhm.
Does that have being Amanda bad has a good effect on am I trying to just elevate myself by putting the other people down? Does it have an effect on my own personal life or not? Obviously, if it does, or sometimes it's hard to find out, but if it's that obvious that we are doing the same job and I'm just trying to put her down because I mess it all the time, that has a different value. I think these are two things that I think in our surrounding, we have friends. They never talk good about anybody.
We
They
all know
talk always,
somebody.
they always
Yeah,
talk.
I wouldn't say they're my friend,
well,
but
in our
I know
in our
people that are
environment.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, then you have it.
Mhm.
You put their gossip in a different category, put in
Yeah.
a box and lock it. Great time, but then you
Yeah.
don't act on it.
Right.
You can enjoy the conversation and move on
Not act.
and not absorb anything.
Just drink your tea.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah. But what you need to know, if those people who talk like that about everybody, you can be assured they talk about you
Yeah.
in the other places the same way.
That's why I said they're probably not.
Not your friends.
Yeah, not someone who's
Oh.
going to be one of my friends. My friends talk good about each other.
Yeah, but you see that there, you told me once, just because people think they're your friend, they're not necessarily, you're not their friend or something to that.
No,
effect.
I told you, you think that.
I know I'm your best friend.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I said
actually
you-
showed her the same video that I know you're referring to. She's everyone's best friend.
Well, thanks guys for watching.
And for Essence, this is Dr. Bassi.
I'm Amanda Armagos.
I'm Melissa Hopper.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.